Okay, so this is part 2 of a video I started yesterday. Part 1 was where Microsoft largely blew up Sony's accusations about Call of Duty exclusivity and what they plan to do there. Today, we're going to be talking about how Microsoft believes or seems to believe that Sony is being a little bit hypocritical about exclusives, and then they're going to basically eviscerate the idea of Game Pass being a competitor when Sony has their own service. And they even talk about several things Sony has done and how it seems like Sony is, at the end of the day, fearful of the service. We're going to dive in right now. If I start in the middle of a sentence, sort of, it's because we just finished the section from yesterday and we're going into section 2. The full video is available now for members. Let's dive right in. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you don't miss any of the videos on this channel. Let's get into it. Considering the existence of strong upstream competition, rival game distribution channels, including console stores and subscription services, have access to a wide range of titles in addition to Activision Blizzard games, including exclusive content not available to Microsoft consumers. For example, on May 16, 2022, Sony announced that the top titles that would be made available in the new PlayStation Plus, in addition to several exclusive titles, popular Sony games like Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, and Demon's Souls, Sony announced that the catalog would include Ubisoft Plus Classics, a curated selection of popular games, including the best sellers, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, The Division, and For Honor, which will be released together with PlayStation Plus Extra and PlayStation Plus Premium membership tiers. So basically what they're saying is, you're competing. You have content that we don't have. You're utilizing your exclusives to leverage your brand, and that's fine. We should be able to do the same. Again, they won't. They've said they won't 2 times in this document, but that argument doesn't really, it falls apart for PlayStation when they try to make it, because they are doing it. And Xbox actually goes a step further, and I found this a little bit interesting. They actually admit that they are a little bit weak when it comes to their standing against PlayStation. So what they're saying here is that Sony would remain market leader if this deal went through. What Sony fails to mention when it insinuates Game Pass could achieve unattainable leadership in subscription services, which, incidentally, suffer from rivalry from the traditional buy-to-play model, it is its own leadership position in digital distribution of console games. Sony is, in fact, the largest digital distributor of console games. So they're pointing out here, smartly, they're saying, okay, look, Game Pass could do quite well, but Sony, aren't you the largest digital distributor for console games? Why are you against this then? They say in Brazil and worldwide, that is fact, considering both the broader distribution segment and the narrowest hypothetical segment of multi-game subscription services console, as shown in the tables below. So they say Sony accounts for 50 to 60% of the digital distribution of console games. Microsoft only counts for 30 to 40%. So they're saying, hey, you beat us in this section. So yeah, we want to come compete. We're still going to let you do Call of Duty or whatever, but the idea that us doing this is somehow going to hurt you, it just doesn't hold up when you start actually looking at the numbers. And here's the numbers, and they even go further. They talk about subscription services. Sony accounts for subscription services for multiple console games. Sony accounts for 50 to 60% of the market share, closer to 40, 50%. Microsoft only counts for 30 to 40%. Or 30 to 40% over here. It's a little bit closer on the market share percentage for 2021, because guess what? My stupid little hand graph that everybody made fun of is finally becoming a reality. Now let's talk about the Game Pass segments in that document. So basically, Xbox says that passing along savings to a consumer should be celebrated. And man, am I ever with them on that one. Let's find that word, celebrated. Such subjective criticisms of the game's business model pass also reveal Sony's real concern, the fear that a business model innovation that gives access to high quality content and lower immediate costs to consumers is something that should be praised rather than criticized. This threatens their standing leadership in the video games industry, with Microsoft moving away. And so Microsoft actually points out that they're moving away from the console strategy and broadening their options, basically. With Microsoft moving away from a strategy of device-centric businesses in the sense that gamers must buy PCs or consoles, expensive to have access to the best quality games, towards a more consumer-centric, gamer-centric option, which will allow players to play the games they want, wherever they want, and with whatever device they want. What Microsoft is saying there is, look, you can keep playing the $70 exclusive pay-to-play strategy, and pay-to-play is a term that they use in this document, not one that I'm making up. And that's fine. We're going a different direction. We're going to let people play on Samsung televisions, on whatever device that they want. They can play via the cloud. And that is where we're going to go. And that threatens your standing leadership. And we sense fear, something that I talked about in those other videos. So why did I think that was so important? Because people smell blood in the water. And in this case, it seems like Microsoft lawyers smelled a little bit of blood in the water, because they were able to call that out very succinctly. They continue on back on page 9, talking about this. I told you this would be a long video. I told you to buckle up. Ubisoft stated that game subscription services are just a different way to access content, which remains available through other channels, example, buy to pay, like PlayStation does it. Newham said that subscription game services compete directly with individual sales of titles. And Riot noted that game subscription services are part of a broader market for digital game distribution. Even Sony agreed that the games are substantially the same, not whether the consumer made a single payment or accessed the titles through a subscription service. So largely they're saying that it's still the same game regardless of how you access it. So they're setting it up that, hey, this is just another way to access content. Sony, you can keep doing your thing. We're going to do ours. Xbox calls out their fear of Game Pass yet again. This starts on page 11. Sony's isolated position can probably be explained by the fact that Microsoft's subscription gaming offering, Xbox Game Pass, has been launched as Microsoft's competitive response to, and this is really interesting, they say it's launched as their failure, as Xbox's failure in the console wars, and the need to offer players additional value compared to the buy-to-play model. Traditional in this way, Game Pass threatens to compete more effectively with the buy-to-play model adapted quite successfully by Sony. We got to unpack that for a second. Microsoft not only admit that they lost the console war, likely back during the Xbox One era, but that the reason Game Pass exists is because Sony was so vicious and successful, actually, with their buy-to-pay model, making excellent games that are exclusive to their platform, that Microsoft said, we need to come up with something different. So they did Game Pass. And that is upsetting Sony, in their opinion, because they think that Sony is scared about having to compete with this new business model, because they like being on top and they do not want to be adjusted from that current position. Xbox does also point out, though, that, hey, Sony, if you want to compete, you know what you could do? Put your games day one on your PlayStation Plus service. Sony likes to pretend like they couldn't afford it, even though that they're posting record-breaking profits. But here's what Microsoft has to say in terms of advice towards them. Hey, Sony could further leverage the high quality of its first-party games, making them available on PlayStation Plus on launch day, a strategy that could quickly accelerate the growth of the service's user base in response to pressure of Game Pass or any other service, and that Sony does not currently adopt, even with respect to the new and updated PlayStation Plus. Such a move on the part of Sony could make the PlayStation Plus even more attractive in order to rival against possible strategies of rival game distributors for the benefit of players. I find that really interesting that they would go there, because basically they're saying, hey, if you want to compete, you could make your games available day one. Nobody's stopping you from doing that. You've chosen not to. And potentially that is making your service not grow as quickly as ours. Because what PlayStation has done in their comments is basically said, oh, Game Pass is growing so quickly. Whatever could we do about it? And Microsoft's like, well, you could make your games available day one. That would be a solution. Have you thought of that? No? What else do they say here? They point out that PlayStation Plus is seen as a Game Pass competitor and that Sony can compete with it and are competing with it. So clearly we know that the two brands are seen competitively, right? So let's read that statement right here. Boom. This is where they talked about Sony's isolated position, and basically Microsoft's competitive response to Xbox's failure on the console wars, just reiterating it here, they say that Game Pass threatens to compete more effectively in the buy-to-pay model adopted quite successfully by Sony. In short, Sony is not resigned to having to compete with the service for Microsoft subscription. And I had to look up that word resign, and basically what they're saying is this is a truth, but Sony just doesn't want to admit it yet. They do not want to compete with Xbox Game Pass. But they could. They definitely could. Let me actually find another quote here really quick. And this is just really interesting stuff to sort of go through this document and see the arguments that are being made here. So they point out that PlayStation Plus is seen as a competitor and they could compete with it. In any case, it should be noted that the use of exclusive arrangements has been at the heart of Sony's strategy to strengthen its presence in the gaming industry. Among Sony exclusives, it is possible to list titles such as The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, Spider-Man Demon's Souls, and the remastered version of Final Fantasy VII. Still not on Xbox. Pretty interesting that Sony can have all those as exclusives. As explained in the notification form, third-party data suggests that in 2021, security console exclusive games accounted for restricted access of the company's global sales. Sony on PlayStation, and about restricted access of the total in-store content sales, PlayStation Digital. From 2018 to 2021, exclusive titles represented blank of game sales and blank of total game content on PlayStation. On the other hand, Microsoft's corresponding data for 2021 was only a smaller percent from 2018 to 2021. The exclusive titles represented from game sales and if included in-app purchases, and they talk about that basically. So what they're saying is, let me find out their conclusion here. Therefore, from any perspective that is analyzed, the conclusion is the same. The inclusion of Activision Blizzard content in Game Pass does not impair the ability of other players to compete in the digital game distribution market. On the contrary, increases competition in the gaming industry by providing desired and high-quality content quality at lower immediate costs. This is the main reason that motivates the comments from Sony about the transaction. So they're being very smart there. They're saying Sony isn't being genuine. The real reason is because they know that you're going to have a better value offering on the Microsoft ecosystem, even though the games are still available on PlayStation, and that's making PlayStation sweat a little bit. So they are hamming it up. And like I said in the intro of the video, I find it very fascinating that they went this route and sort of talked about what they could do to compete with the service. And on page 16, they even say that Sony contradicts themselves. And they have this in big, bold, underlined letters. Third, Sony itself contradicts itself, admitting that Call of Duty is not essential. In fact, Sony claimed that Game Pass has grown rapidly because since 2017, Microsoft acquired several third-party studios and added their content to the Game Pass. And added that the Game Pass subscriptions are growing rapidly. Even no essential content or third-party AAA content has been added. So which is it? Is Call of Duty going to make it grow? Because you're saying that even without anything interesting, with no essential content, no third-party AAA content, it's still growing. You can't have it both ways. You can't say we're growing with nothing and then say, well, if you have Call of Duty, that's the reason it's going to grow. It's growing whether you want it to or not, even without any Call of Duty being on the service. And they call out Sony for blocking games. This was the one that we did a headline about not that long ago. And they talk about blocking games from coming to Game Pass. And that's because they're sort of freaking out about it. So here's the quote on that really quick. Microsoft's ability to continue expanding Game Pass has been hampered by Sony's desire to inhibit such growth. Sony pays for blocking rights to prevent developers from adding content to Game Pass and other competing subscription services. And then they must reference some other subscription services here and how that's a little bit strange, isn't it? Regardless of how unusual Sony's criticism of the content exclusivity is, as the entire PlayStation strategy was centered around exclusivity over the years. Again, game will be multi-platform. I feel like they must feel like they're blue in the face because I feel like I'm blue in the face. They keep saying like, we're not going to make it exclusive. So don't worry about that. That's not going to happen. We've agreed that's not going to happen. And then they go on to call out Sony for not wanting to compete in several different paragraphs here. Just a reminder, the whole video is available to members right now, so be sure you tune in and check that out. I greatly appreciate you watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you don't miss any content on this channel. And a big thank you to all the members that support this channel. Go check out that full video right now, members. I really appreciate you supporting. I hope you like it. It just ended up being a lot longer than I expected, so I broke it up. Hit that join button if you want to access the full thing right now. Otherwise, I will release it over the weekend. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to get out of here, and I'll see you for the next one.